Right, let's kick things off. Good evening, everyone. My name is Mitesh, and I am delighted to be here with the British Army tonight. They're going to talk to you about British Army apprenticeships. As one of, if not the largest apprenticeship provider in the UK, the Army offers a unique earn while you learn model and covers everything from engineering to healthcare. We're joined by Amy tonight, who's going to present for you from the Army. So Amy, I'll hand over to you just shortly, but a bit of housekeeping. If you've got any questions, please ask them in the Q&A. We're going to do a Q&A session at the end, and we'll go through some of the questions at the end. So feel free to ask them as we go through, and we'll try and get through as many as we can. Amy, over to you.
Thanks, Mitesh. So good evening, everybody. So my name is Amy, and I work with the British Army. And tonight we are going to go through a presentation which will hopefully give you a lot more information and understanding about what the Army can offer. So we'll be covering the different career opportunities available across the 7 career streams. We'll also be looking at how some of the elements that a young person would learn in the classroom links to specific job roles within the military. We'll look at basic training and what that looks like, and we'll also look at apprenticeships and give you a little bit of information on the variety of apprenticeships that we offer. We've also got a couple of slides on women in the Army and all of the roles that are open to women, and a little bit of a fact-finding piece that we can do. And then at the end of it, there'll be just some extra support, more so for any of the parents that are on the call tonight. But again, as Mitesh said, I'm happy to answer any questions moving forward. So we'll get started then. So can I have the first slide, please, Mitesh?
Did that go to career opportunity? Do you want?
I've got it now. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so one of the first things that we need to clear up is one of the most common misconceptions is that the Army is just combat. It's not. There is 7 career streams, which we're going to go through and break down shortly. But we are a large modern organisation with a far more variety of roles than many people expect. So there's actually hundreds of roles within the Army, and that is roles in technical areas, engineering, medicine and healthcare, logistics, music, and specialist fields as well. For many young people, the Army today looks very different from the version that they might have imagined. While they serve, young people can also work towards nationally recognised qualifications. So this is anything from GCSEs up to degree levels to trade accreditations and more than 40 different apprenticeships at different levels, which we'll cover a little bit later. So all of these qualifications help you set up a long-term success, whether you choose to build a full-time career within the Army or you use those skills later on in a civilian career. There is truly something for everybody. So whether you are a student who enjoys practical work, problem solving, creative thinking, technology, caring for others, or leading teams, there's a pathway where you can feel confident and you can also thrive in that role. With that in mind, let's take a closer look at the different career streams and how you might see yourself doing one of these roles in the near future. Next slide, please. So this is our lead and protect career stream. So this covers our frontline roles. So this includes the infantry, the Royal Armoured Corps, the Army Air Corps, and the Royal Artillery. So these roles are a great match for young people who enjoy that physical and that mental challenge, working as part of a team and spending lots of time outdoors. Soldiers can also learn to operate in demanding environments. They have to make quick decisions when in the field, but they also support people around them and under them if they are in pressure situations. The frontline roles do help young people build confidence and a strong sense of responsibility. You can also, if you are a student on the Corps, you will also learn to look after yourself, look after the team and the public. You'll develop discipline within these roles, resilience, and also teamwork. All of these skills are beneficial within the Army, but they are also beneficial in civilian roles if you was to do that later on. Alongside this, you can gain leadership and communication skills, problem-solving skills, all of which can transfer directly into careers after the Army in emergency services. You could go into logistics, you could go into engineering roles, you could even do outdoor and education or security roles, all from frontline roles within the Army. Most importantly, though, these are the roles that as a young person you will grow extremely quick in. So you gain maturity very quickly because of the nature of the job. That confidence aspect naturally comes quicker with this job. But also that supportive team is another major skill, and you learn that very, very quickly within these particular roles. Next slide, please. So our build and maintain career stream. So this focuses on the Army's skilled trades and technical roles. So people most associate this particular stream with like vehicles, equipment, infrastructure. These roles are closely linked to well-known civilian roles such as electricians, plumbers, bricklayers, vehicle mechanics, recovery mechanics, anything in the engineering space that you can think of in a civilian role. The Army does that across two of the career streams. So you have the Royal Engineers and you also have the Royal Electrical Mechanical Engineers. So your Royal Engineers are more of your bricklayers, your construction workers, and your electrical mechanical engineers is more of that vehicle mechanic, that avionics technician, anything to work with vehicles and maintenance as well. So soldiers in this particular stream, they repair absolutely everything from small vehicles to heavy machinery. They support on aircraft maintenance. So whilst we don't have any of the fighter jets that the RAF have, we do have Apache and Wildcat helicopters as well. And we also can look at the construction side of the engineers, which is all about building bridges, structures that help the Army operate anywhere in the world. So these roles are becoming more and more important as engineering, logistics and technical trades do support a bigger part of modern operations. So you can gain recognised qualifications in engineering and trade qualifications, as well as technical and digital certifications as well. You also build that problem solving skills, the teamwork skills, communication skills, all whilst doing one of those particular roles. So these skills are developed and are highly sought after, especially after you finish your career within the Army. The pathways that these qualifications can open up can be roles in engineering, in construction, you can go into transport, logistics, utilities, IT, communications. There's loads of qualifications that you will be able to get within the Army that you can transfer later on in your career. So the connect and communicate stream. So this is the digital and communications career stream, which is what we refer to as the Royal Signals. And this includes some of our fastest growing roles in the British Army. So the growth is driven by an increasing need for secure communications and cybersecurity, but as well as an advanced digital capability across the Army and every part of the operations it has as well. We actually rely on technology and data more and more, and we are starting to obviously rely on that more moving forward in the years to come. So this pathway is a great fit for students who enjoy computers or coding or cybersecurity, networks, problem solving or working with technology would be a great fit for anybody who is kind of interested in those particular roles. Young people within this role, they do work with really cutting edge systems, including advanced communication networks, encrypted platforms, satellite technology, cyber defense tools, real-time data systems, and you work very closely with the intelligence corps, with the signals as well. So you can gain qualifications within the Royal Signals, but also part of the Connect and Communicate actually covers the intelligence corps, which I mentioned, but we also have driver communication specialists. You can also link postal and courier service to this particular job role as well. There's lots of areas that would fall into this one. And along the way, you do get those nationally recognised qualifications. So a lot of the Signals apprenticeships are level 4, and we will touch on that very briefly later on. But you can obviously do extra qualifications within Signals and IT later on. So the care and support industry is one of our popular ones. So this is the Royal Army Medical Services. And this stream focuses on people who keep the Army running every day. Now, I mentioned that can be medical, but that also includes our chefs, our HR and finance personnel, our welfare specialists, and we also have Royal Military Police in there as well. So this particular stream, they make sure that every soldier is prepared, supported, they're able to do their job, They can deliver essentials such as healthcare, wellbeing support. They make sure that they've got their pay on time. All the equipment and everything is all sorted. It's all part of that seamless operation. So these guys are more behind the scenes, but again, many qualifications that you can get within this particular area as well. So if you are somebody who enjoys working with others, you're quite a people person, you like to bring sort of care, organisation or strong attention to detail, then maybe some of these roles that I've mentioned are areas that you could look into. So we do obviously gain those teamwork, communication skills. Leadership skills also come in here as well. And you can also get qualifications in healthcare, which is a level 3 apprenticeship. You could also get a level 4 apprenticeship in policing. And then you've got level 2 and level 3 catering qualifications as well, if you was to join as chef. And then the HR side of it is a level 3 business administration qualification. So again, lots of opportunities for you to be able to do later on. And finally, one of the career streams or the areas of the Army that doesn't quite get enough attention is the ceremonial and the music side. So this is a really good career stream, and it's one of the most public-facing opportunities because it showcases the skill, the talent, and the professionalism of the soldiers that do these particular roles. So Army musicians, they perform at major events. They do royal ceremonies, they do international parades and televised occasions. They also give young people the chance to represent the UK with confidence and pride in a different way. Your ceremonial roles are an important part as well. So they take part in state occasions like Trooping of the Colour, you may have seen. That also is our household cavalry. So that is another option of the ceremonial side. So with this one, you do get qualifications in leadership and technical skills. There's not an apprenticeship linked to the music side of it, but there is a music bursary that we can cover at a later date. So if you've got, if you're a student who plays a musical instrument and you're looking at potentially joining the Army, or you are a parent or a teacher who has an interest or a student interested, we could look at going down that music bursary route as well. So all of these skills do transfer into wider qualifications and also opportunities, but again, it's a really good opportunity and one that's not highlighted enough on the section. So that's a bit of an overview of sort of the different roles that we have available. If anybody has any questions about anything that I've said, pop it in the chat, happy to answer it later on in the presentation. But for now, we're going to move on to the classroom curriculum. So I get this question quite a lot from teachers in particular. And it's basically, how is what you learn as a student in the classroom and how does that link to the Army? So these are a couple of examples. So we actually have a series of classroom subjects that we have linked to specific roles within the Army. So I'm just going to go through a couple of examples for you. But these posters are downloadable. Students, parents, teachers, more than welcome to have them afterwards, but it just kind of gives you a bit of an idea. So this particular section then shows you how core classroom subjects can benefit you and can link to those real Army roles that I mentioned. So let's take geography for argument's sake. So geography supports the roles that rely on mapping, navigation, there's terrain awareness, logistics. So skills such as understanding the geographical landscapes or being able to read a map and using GPS are essential skills, but you can also learn this within the curriculum as in geography. And those roles can link to geographic technician, which we have available in the Army, but also it links into that infantry role as well, because you need to be able to know where you're going and what's coming up, kind of like look at the terrain and everything. So that kind of shows you how geography could link into particular roles. Mathematics was always my worst subject at school, and I hated it. But when I looked at how maths and what I learned at school could link into particular job roles, it was actually quite reassuring. So maths is vital within any job role, but it's also vital within the Army. So it's good for problem solving, for that data analysis aspects, which can link into either the signals or into the intelligence core, decision making as well. So if you are a student who enjoys maths, you'll find sort of opportunities that you can use those math skills in engineering, in intelligence, in communications. You could even use them in the artillery, working with the Royal Artillery on certain job roles as well. So this is where accuracy and logical thinking really does matter. Science, so science provides that technical and that investigative skills needed across roles such as engineering, logistics, even medical roles. We have a role which is biomedical scientist, so that links to some of the curriculum that you would learn in science. It could also link to environmental health technician is another job role that we have. So some of the key elements that you can learn within that curriculum does link into some of the core subjects. But some of the other subjects is PE and sport. So for those of you who love doing fitness, love being outdoors, loves PE at school, obviously you do get to play sports within the army anyway. But PE and sports helps that teamwork aspect. So if you remember from the beginning, I mentioned about the teamwork in the army is across most of the job roles, but in particular that teamwork in the infantry. So it helps you work towards that because you work in teams as part of PE in the classroom. That teamwork, that discipline, that physical confidence as well are all essential for roles that rely on coordination, resilience, problem solving. So you can always link that to different roles within the army. Languages is an interesting one. So languages is part of that communication skills, that cultural awareness, and in particular, this links to one of our roles in the intelligence corps, which is a operator technical intelligence. So as part of that role, you will be able to learn a couple of languages as part of your army training, but you do have that opportunity to maybe bring some of the skills that you've learned within your classroom into the role, and languages is always needed within the army. So it always comes in to help for future operations as well. And then we've got music as well. So I mentioned music very quickly earlier on. So if you are somebody who plays an instrument or you enjoy that music element, everything you learn and learning an instrument, you could learn either a different instrument, or if you play an instrument to a particular level, all those skills that you've learned or the terminology that you've learned in the classroom as well always links to the musician role within the army. So it does have a clear message. So whatever your favorite subject is, there is a role that fits to that particular subject. And like I said, you can download these posters and kind of click on the links and see kind of which roles that particular element would link into. So what we're going to look at now is we're just going to move on to basic training. So I get this question a lot about what basic training's like, and sort of this is hopefully going to give you a little bit more understanding. So basic training is basically where a young person's journey really begins. So it's the point where they step away from everyday civilian life and they start building that mindset, that discipline, and that confidence needed to become a soldier. So this stage is designed to bring you out of your comfort zone, physically, mentally, and personally, but it also gives you a strong, supportive foundation for everything that is going to come next. So during basic training, you'll watch a short video in a second, but you'll be introduced to routines, standards, expectations of the army. You'll learn how to be a soldier within the British Army. It's the first experience that you will probably get of that teamwork, that belonging, and that shared purpose that comes with being part of the military community. You'll learn how to push through challenges. You'll have a massive support network around you, and you'll discover probably strengths that you didn't even realize that you had. So it's all about that learning the essential skills, but that can be anything from physical fitness from PT to fieldcraft to communications to map reading and navigation. There's so much that you can do, and you will watch a quick video in a second on what that looks like. But another question that I do tend to get is, where is the training across the country? So we actually have a few different entry routes and a few different training establishments. So basic training does look different depending on the age that a young person was to join. So let's say you are somebody who is looking at going down and joining the army after GCSEs and maybe after A-levels. So this would be for anybody who is 17 and a half and over. Your training will last around 13 weeks, and it's either going to be at Purbright if you are looking at doing any of the job roles, or if you are looking at joining the infantry, then it would obviously be up in Catterick as well. So for Catterick, you could look at infantry guards, parachute regiment. So your training, if you're looking at that particular area, is 28 weeks or 36. It depends on the role that you decide to do. But for our younger recruits, so if you are 15 years and 7 months all the way up to 17 years and a half, you can obviously apply from the age of 15 and 7. You'll look at joining the Army Foundation College of Harrogate. So you can't join Harrogate until you are 16. But from 16 to 17, that is where all of our juniors go and do their training. So training can last for 23 or 49 weeks. It depends if you do the short course or the long course. Short course is more of a technical trade. So if you think about the engineers, the signals, the IT roles that we mentioned earlier, and anything that's got a trade behind it, slightly shorter training. If you're looking at combat roles or a driver role, your training tends to be 49 weeks at Harrogate, which is slightly longer. We do have the officer side of it as well, which is not covered on this particular slide, but for anybody who maybe doesn't want to join straight away after school or A levels, you can go on to university if you wanted to as well. That will take place at Sandhurst, and that's 42 weeks at Sandhurst. So it really depends on kind of like what avenue you are looking at doing. But what we're going to do is just watch a quick video, which will give you a little bit of an overview of kind of what happens during basic training as a soldier if you was to join. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of information about training. There is lots of information on the Army Jobs website, on the Army Job YouTube page. There's so many different videos that you can watch around training, which will hopefully give you that bit of information. But we'll move on to one of my favourite parts is apprenticeships. So I actually didn't know half of this information until I started working with the Army 9 years ago. So as Mitesh kindly mentioned earlier on, so the British Army has been the leading apprenticeship provider for the last 5 years. We are #1 in the Sunday Times this year as well. And the apprenticeship offer is absolutely incredible. So we're just going to take a quick look at another video which gives you a bit of an overview of the apprenticeships, and then we can summarize some of the key facts about the apprenticeships that we offer. So that gives you a little bit of an overview of the apprenticeships. So we're just going to touch a little bit more on this in regards to some extra detail. So we actually have over 40 different apprenticeships available from level 2, level 3, and level 4. And these do vary depending on the types of job roles. So what you need to kind of understand is your apprenticeship is linked to the job role that you pick. So let's take I don't know, let's take our HR role for argument's sake that I mentioned earlier on. So our HR and finance specialist, you will obviously join the army as a HR specialist. You'll go through your basic training, which you saw in that video. And then you'll go into something called your initial trade training, which is where you physically learn how to be a HR personnel assistant within the Adjutant's General Corps. Whilst you are doing that training, that is where your apprenticeship starts. So you, for a HR spec, you would do a level 3 business administration apprenticeship, which is actually equivalent to 2 A levels. So that is funded through the army. It's part of your career progression. And that's just one of the options that you could do. If you join the army as a chef, you could get your level 2 or your level 3 production chef qualifications. Again, level 2 is equivalent to 5 GCSEs, so extra qualifications. Level 3 is your A levels. We also have some of our level 4 apprenticeships. So we've got network engineer, which is part of the Royal Signals, which you can do. We've got the non-home police officer apprenticeship, which is linked to Royal Military Police. We've also got loads of level 2 apprenticeships as well. So even though you can start on a level 2, doesn't necessarily mean that's it, you can't do any more. You can do a level 2 and then you could progress onto a higher apprenticeship. And as mentioned in the video, you could even go up to degree level if you wanted to. So there is level 6, level 7 qualifications available. It's a leadership and management degree. So you do have that option to be able to go down that road as well. But there's over 40. There's lots of information on the Army Jobs website, on the apprenticeship page in particular, breaks it down for you in terms of what apprenticeships come under which categories. So as mentioned, obviously we're number 1 in the Sunday Times. Our achievement rates are well above national average. So a lot of our soldiers do complete their apprenticeships, and we've actually had since 2003 over 115,000 completions, which is absolutely incredible. But the biggest thing that shocked me until before I started working with them is the Army Apprenticeship Programme has actually been going 100 years. It was 100 years in October 2023. So we've actually been running apprenticeships for over 100 years now, which is absolutely incredible. So you are going to get that those qualifications. They are transferable into roles after you was to leave the army as well. But it's a really good opportunity. And the other big thing to notice is the pay. So if you was to do an apprentice or apprenticeship role in Civilian Street, it's currently £7.55 an hour, rising to £8 in April. That would be the apprentice wage. If you was to join the army and go through the apprenticeship scheme, the current salary at the moment is just over 26,000. And that obviously increases as you move through the ranks as well. So for a 16-year-old who is maybe on this call thinking they want to do an apprenticeship, just think that you also get quite a nice pay packet as well for doing an apprenticeship. So that's another really good benefit on apprenticeships. So we're just going to move on to a little bit about sort of women in the army. Obviously, it's International Women's Day coming up this week. So I just wanted to highlight a couple of key points around this. But we're just going to watch a quick video from Corporal Natasha Day, who is absolutely amazing in what she does. She's done a lot with us over the years, and she's just going to give you a little bit of information about her story and kind of how she joined the army, what she's done, and hopefully give you a little bit more of an insight. So as you can see there, that's giving you a little bit of information about Natasha and the kind of like the career that she has had as well. But there are so many inspirational female officers and soldiers that I've worked with in 9 years who have all got their own story to tell. And it is really, really a great place for women as well. So just some interesting facts here, which just wanted to highlight. So all of the job roles that we offer, so like I said, there's over 200 job roles within the Army. So all of them are open to women. That does include combat and infantry roles. So we opened those up in 2018. So every role is open. There are also women serving in the Army at every rank up to general, which I didn't actually know until last week when I was told by a colleague of mine. So that's really, really good as well. So again, that also shows that strong progression. It's the representation across leadership as well. The pay is equal, as Natasha said earlier on, from day one, and it does not matter, obviously, based on gender. The other element to highlight is the support network. So Natasha's slightly touched on it in her video there, but there's actually two really good networks, especially for sort of like young women who are looking at joining. So we've got one which is called the Female Army Candidate Network. So for any of the young women who are looking at joining the Army and they're going through the application process, this network is a support group basically to help you through the application process. It gives you information, advice, a space to share experiences. You can ask questions, you can raise concerns. And that option is there for you if you're looking at going through the application process. Once you actually join the Army Service Women's Network, which is what Corporal Day mentioned there, so this is a group for women who are currently serving across both regular and reserves. It's a space to share information, discuss ideas, access information and support across the Army. In addition to these networks, there's also a really good series of on-demand and live webinars. So we've actually got a Women in the Army webinar running next Wednesday evening. It is on the Army Jobs website. We've got either 2 or 3 female speakers who are going to be joining us on the night. So if there's anybody on this call who maybe wants to look at joining that, it is on the Army Jobs website on the Meet Your Army page. You're more than welcome to go and sign up for that one as well. But that's an opportunity for anybody who is looking at joining. And finally, because I've talked for 35 minutes now, is just some extra resources. This is more aimed at the parents that are on the call. So we do have a couple of new resources. So we do have a monthly newsletter, which at the moment goes out to all the teachers and careers advisors across secondary schools and colleges across UK, Northern Ireland and Scotland. We are opening that up to parents. So parents, if you want to start receiving sort of career information on the Army and all the exciting opportunities that we have to offer, you are more than welcome to scan that QR code and you can sign up. It gets sent out on a monthly basis. The next edition is going to be either March or it will be April. We've also got a couple of new resources. So we've got a brand new Understanding Army Opportunities resource, which is for parents and teachers. And this is basically a resource to help you help a young person go through the Army application process. So there's information on there with hints and tips about application process, the benefits, apprenticeships. There's loads of really good information in there. We've also got the River Process Map, which is the bottom graphic, and that takes you through every single step of the application process. It is an interactive PDF, and it basically shows you some of the barriers that either a parent or a teacher comes across and they don't quite know the answers. It gives you tips and it also gives you solutions so that you can have those conversations with a young person who is looking at joining and feel confident, reassured with the information that you've got. They are available as of next week. So again, if you want to either get in touch with me after this webinar or scan the QR code, I can obviously send that out to you. And one final point is we have got an updated website, which is going to be coming next week. And on there is going to be a load of new resources for parents and also a load of new resources and information for teachers as well. So please keep an eye on that. But that is it for me. I will hand back to Mitesh and see if there is any questions that have come through that you want extra clarification on.
Amy, thank you very much for that presentation. It was I thought it was very insightful. Hopefully, everyone in the audience also did. There have been some questions.
Of course.
I was just putting them into a doc so I could read them and try and organize them. So I will. Here we go. Here's a few questions. So first question was, how do I join the household cavalry?
Household cavalry. Okay, so the first thing to mention is that anybody who is looking at joining the army has to make an online application. So it's all done online. So if you head over to the Army Jobs website, the first thing I would recommend is going onto the role finder, and you can type in household cavalry. That will bring up the job description. It will bring you up the qualifications that you need, which you actually don't. You can join that particular role with no GCSEs. It tells you the fitness requirements. It tells you how long basic training and trade training are going to be, whereabouts it's going to be, key responsibilities. So definitely have a look at that. And then you would just make your application online, go through the application process, and then the team in the offices, wherever your local office is, will be able to support you through that application.
Just to touch on something you said there. So you said you don't need any GCSEs to join the household cavalry. Household cavalry. Are you able to give a bit of an overview if you do need qualifications for any of the roles? I know there's a lot, so we're not expecting all of them, but
there is, yeah. So there is a handful of roles that are on the Army Jobs website that you don't need qualifications for. So these tend to be the combat roles. So if you don't have sort of GCSEs, maths and English, it doesn't mean that the army is a complete write-off, because that's not the case. There is job roles within combat. There are some logistics job roles that you can join with no qualifications. The biggest piece of advice that I always give people is GCSEs do matter. So if you can try and put as much work into your GCSEs, it does open up those extra roles and those roles that you might take an interest in as well. So it's always maths, English, science. One of the sciences is always key. As long as you get sort of a C or above, the majority of the roles will be open, if not all of them, for those particular qualifications.
I have one that was sort of repeated twice. It's about medical and healthcare. One of the questions was, I can't find much about the military medical regiment online. Where would they go to find out more about that? I think that was mentioned in the video, actually, wasn't it?
The Royal Army Medical Services. Okay, so there is on the Army Jobs website, there is a Royal Army Medical Services, what we call landing page. So that tells you about the different job roles. I'm sure after the call, Mitesh, I can happily send you a link if you want, and you can obviously circulate that out. But yeah, if you type in Royal Army Medical Services into the Army Jobs website, that should hopefully bring it back. Or you could type in specific job roles. So if it's a nurse, if it's a healthcare assistant, combat medical technician, those are the types of roles. You should be able to type those in, and then you'll be able to follow it through to Royal Army Medical Services. They do have an Instagram page, which they always keep updated. So if any of you are on Instagram, obviously you can go and follow Royal Army Medical Services on Instagram. They're always posting events and bits of information that they're doing as well.
And following from that was another medical question about medicine or healthcare. Is the role in the army much different to the equivalent role in the Navy and the RAF? Would you know that?
I wouldn't know that, unfortunately. That would be a question for the RAF and the Navy. What I can suggest is if you go into your local careers office, there should be RAF and Navy personnel in the offices. I would probably go and have a conversation with all three services. If you're interested in the healthcare role, is have the same conversation with all three services, and then you will be able to find out in one go what the difference is. But I can't say for the RAF and the Navy, unfortunately.
Right, Amy, just bear with me. We've just had a bit of a barrage of questions, so
that's fine.
So what ones I'm just going to paraphrase a little bit about fitness, saying I'm on the larger side. Is it okay for me to apply, and is that going to be a problem?
Okay.
Around joining the army, so probably to do like fitness levels, etc.
Fitness levels, okay. So we're not expecting you to be superhuman when you join the army, and everybody thinks you have to be at a certain fitness level before you even make that application. If you are looking at particular roles, the first thing that I would do is look at the job roles that you're looking at and look what the fitness requirements are for those job roles. On the Army Jobs website, there is a section purely on fitness, and it tells you the 3 different fitness elements that you would do at assessment centre. So you've got the 2-kilometre run, you've got the medicine ball throw, which is like a weighted 4-kilogram ball, and then you've got a mid-thigh pull. Those are your 3 fitness requirements for the assessment centre. You can practice them, and I would always recommend practicing them because obviously you'll get the best result at assessment centre. But they're the first 2 things. And then obviously the team and the officers will support you through applications and fitness requirements through there.
There's another question about different types of roles. Is there a legal role in the Army, Amy?
There is.
At all?
Yeah, so legal officer. So there's two routes into this. With legal, you've got the professionally qualified aspect. So if you go into the role finder page again, which I mentioned, and type in legal officer, it brings you up everything you need to know about legal. But you've got the professionally qualified route, and then they are also doing a cadetship, which we've actually got a webinar coming up on that on the 5th of May. It's on the Meet Your Army link on the website, and that is a different route that they are now offering. So there's lots of information on that. But yeah, definitely check out the legal officer page, and then obviously you can have a look to see when the next webinars are coming up. But predominantly, yeah, the best route in is if you're going to be qualified, but they do have that route now, which you don't need to be.
I know we're sort of coming to the end of when we're, Amy, are you happy to answer a couple more questions?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no worries.
Yeah. So one of the questions, and I'm sort of getting lost in all the questions, is like, what are the different kind of apprenticeship roles you can get if you're doing A levels? I mean, I think we're trying to differentiate between the apprenticeships when you're finishing your GCSEs.
Okay. So are we talking about sort of apprenticeships after you finish A levels, or is that?
Well, I think are they like sort of what are the different levels that you can get into? What apprenticeships can you get into if you're doing A levels, and what apprenticeships can you get into if you're doing like finishing GCSEs?
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter. So it doesn't matter if you are gonna do GCSEs and then you finish GCSEs and decide to join the Army, or you carry on and do A levels and you join the Army. As mentioned before, the apprenticeship is linked to the job role. So whether you join at 16, 18, mid-20s, that apprenticeship level will still be the same. So what you tend to do is you start, let's say one of the roles that you were looking at has a level 2 apprenticeship. You will do that particular apprenticeship because it's linked to that job role. But then as you progress throughout your career, you do progression apprenticeship. So more opportunities become available to you, and you can work your way up to degree. So it doesn't really matter what age you join, the apprenticeship level will still be the same. Hopefully that makes sense.
Yep, I think it does. There's a question on housing. It says, what's the housing like if you live a long distance away? I mean, I assume that there's a housing provided, or
yeah. So during basic training, you will be in accommodation on site. There is what we call subsidised living accommodation. So that is an opportunity later on, sort of in your career. But yeah, there is. You can have military housing as well. I know my partner he's RAF. He had like a flat that he had, and he obviously had that subsidised living aspect from that. But there is information on the Army Mod site as well on that. So that would obviously be discussed when you was to join the Army later on.
There's a couple of questions here, Amy, about about Army and university, and if you provide scholarships, and if you do you go to an actual university, or is it done more on the job?
Okay, this is quite a big question because there's many different routes here. So this a couple of ways you can look at this. So you've got your scholarship aspect, which is open to year 12s. So if you was looking at going down the scholarship route, you would need to be in year 12 to apply, and then the scholarship kicks in year 13 basically. So that's for year 12s and year 13s. And the scholarship is basically a £3,000 incentive in year 13. And then once you've done the scholarship, you get what we call a standard bursary, which is between £6,000 and £7,000 when you're at university. So if you was looking at doing sort of A levels, you could apply for the scholarship and get funding through that. And then once you finish A levels and you were looking at going to university, you could obviously have that additional funding there. The one thing that you need to know about the scholarships, though, is once you go to university, you can apply to upgrade to another bursary. So we've got a few different bursaries. You've got the standard one, which is between 6,000 and 7,000. You've got the enhanced bursary, which is up to £24,000. And then you've got what we call the DESA. So this is the STEM bursary. That's up to 43,605 is what it is. So it depends on what you are looking at doing at university, but there's 3 different main bursary routes. And then you've got the professionally qualified medical bursaries as well. And if you're looking at getting qualified, going down the medicine route.
I mean, there's lots more questions, but I think there's quite a lot to digest there. So
it's huge. With the biggest thing with the bursaries is on we've got a bursaries and scholarship page on the website. There's a funding university brochure as well that you can download. It details everything in there. And there will be we are going to be running some officer specific events over the next 12 months, which we can break down that in probably a lot longer time than a couple of minutes that I've just summarized it there. So keep an eye out on the Meet Your Jobs Army page for any of the officer events or the bursary events. And yeah, feel free to come along to one of those where we can explain it a bit more.
Thank you very much, Amy, for tonight. Thank you very much, everyone else, for attending. This has been recorded, and we will send out a recording tomorrow. If you need to look over any of the facts or revisit any of the information, hopefully you found it really, really useful. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, everybody.